Hi and welcome back. I'm back in the woods. I'm gonna finish the last birch tree that I wet-felled some time ago. I brought a new axe today. Actually, it's an old one. Not sure what maker it is. It's a pretty generic Swedish type axe. Could be from any forge really. Hultsbruk or Wetterlings or Gränsfors or Åby or Säter. I don't know. It's pretty rusty. Found it at a flea market. The head is nice and heavy. Not sure how heavy. Haven't really weighed it. But it's a bit heavier than the axe I cracked the handle on. In the last video I was up here. The handle that sits on this is pretty short. It is only 24 inches or 60 centimeters. But I'm gonna take the opportunity to try and work with it with that handle length. I'm planning to hang it on a longer handle later, but I'm gonna try it like this so I can see what difference there is when I rehang it. Apart from that, I brought my Rinaldi normal or normal. I guess I'm gonna do the chopping with this one, with its thin blade geometry, and do the splitting mostly with this heavier, cheekier one. I'm gonna try and chop a little bit with it as well, but it has a pretty wide angle on it now, so I don't think it will be as nice for that as this one. I also brought one of these to assist me with the lifting. I tend to forget to use this, and I just bend down, and not so good for the back actually. Let's see if I remember to use this one in this video. Right, no time to lose. Let's go and chop up a tree. It's a nice warm summer day. I'm a little bit late in the season to do this, but well, it's the last tree. I'm gonna finish it, but without shirt and hat. I'm just gonna try this one out first and see what I think about it. I'm gonna try and use the same principle as in the last video and make the cracks in an X formation, so I hopefully can be able to chop off 4/4 more or less at least. Well, it sits in the air, so it dances around quite a lot. I should probably do something about it, but I'm gonna try a little bit like this anyway. Doesn't do much yet really. That's better. Starting to crack. My aim is all over the place because I'm not used to the axe, and this moves around. It's a bit gnarly down close to the root. I'll see if I can get some pieces off with this. Otherwise I'll switch to the Rinaldi axe. For one thing, it's pretty comfortable with a short handle when the log sits up in the air. wavy and stringy. And the bevel on this axe is not really suited for chopping. Here's Johnny. Get it? Anyway. Well, the headweight has its advantages, for sure. I'm estimating now, but I think it's about 3.3 pounds, or slightly less or slightly more. That's about 1.5 kilos. But I would prefer to have it on a longer handle, I think, and another smaller bevel on the edge. I'm gonna do that to it later, I think. Anyway, I'm bringing the Rinaldi as well now, because as this is set up now, it's not very good for chopping, as I was expecting. But this is, I'm gonna section it a bit up the trunk and move it so it doesn't dance around in the air. The Rinaldi normal is perfect for that. Yeah, 5 not very well aimed hits, and it's more or less off. Not the most difficult task in the world. Up there the trunk was only like 4.5 inches wide, but yeah, that's the Rinaldi AXES with their narrow blade geometry for you. I really like him for that. I'm gonna process it right on top of the pile from the last time, so it all ends up in the same place. And what can be more convenient than that, huh? Getting rid of some of the thick bark down at the root first. Gnarly stuff. I'm gonna cut notches with the Rinaldi axe and then try to split off pieces with a heavier, cheekier one. Well, just like in the last video I did on the other birch tree, there are a few knots and some stringy wood, especially down closer to the root. Well, you'll have to find another place to live now. Well, this time I think the combination between two axes, one for notching and one for splitting, works really well so far. Not so much when it was dancing around up in the air, but now that I got it down on the ground, it's quite alright, I think. Moving to the next section, it splits easier and easier further away from the root I get, just as expected. One thing I do differently is that I cut the notches first. I don't start the crack from the end and then do the notches, but I notch the log first and then I split off fire logs, and I think that works better. If you have any other experiences yourself, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. famous Italian stickiness. That's the downside with Rinaldi AXES sometimes. A few knots here and there. Right, that's the bottom section. Time to tackle the top part of the trunk. Well, this part of the log really sits in the worst kind of place. Between stumps and rocks and more rocks. So I think since it's not that thick, maybe 4 inches at most, 4.5 maybe, I'm gonna try and pull it out onto this direction, and then I can stack the pieces on this little pile that I started earlier this year. Shouldn't be that hard to do. Much nicer. Open ground with no rocks. And there's my little pile of firewood for stacking it up onto later. Alright, let's get chopping again. As I've mentioned in previous videos, whenever there is a knot in a reasonably convenient distance from the end for bucking a fire log, you try to cut it out for easier splitting later. That saves you a lot of grief. Splitting of fire logs, cutting straight into the ground like this, you have to be careful so you don't use too much force, and maybe not use your best axe for it. I'm gonna reprofile this later anyway. Little knot here as well. Anyway, splits much easier a bit up the trunk than further down as before. Two rather large knots in that one. Managed to split it between the knots, a little bit like Steven Edholm from Skill Cult suggests. Nice cluster of big knots here, exactly where it's convenient to sever the log for a suitable fire log length. You get a lot more of this when you come closer to the top, of course, because all the branches are up there. These ones have rotted away, but the big knots are still there. So I'm gonna cut away as much of this as possible. Nice of them to all be in the same place at least. Yeah, but they usually are. You get them more or less in a circle around the trunk. And away they go. Just that one left. And there's gone. Thank you for cooperating, all of you. I'm gonna pull the trunk back out to this open area a little bit because it was so convenient cutting it up here. Now it's so light, so no problem really moving it back and forth. And I severed most of the branches, so there's nothing really catching when I pull it. Less talking, more shopping. Alright then, let's see how much it is, shall we? It's 58 inches long, 48 inches tall here by the tree, and 36, maybe 37 inches tall out here. I'm gonna say that's pretty much a rick, isn't it? Then I also have the smaller pile I was working on. So from these two birch trees I've been wet felling and processing lately, I have at least one rick, probably a little bit more. And in that small pile there's also firewood from a birch I felled and processed earlier in the year, so I actually have firewood from 3 birches up here. I'm gonna make a video later in the autumn when the firewood has dried out a bit, where I go around and collect all my small piles of firewood. I have quite a few in this forest, and I also have a couple in another forest at my friend Jonas's place. And then I will just see how much it adds up to, how much I've been able to source this season. Unfortunately, I don't have time to be out working in the forest as much as I would like, since the channel is so small still, so I have to work quite a lot with other stuff to earn my living. And we also have a son that we are raising now, just turned 1 year old now. It's a great joy, of course, but it takes a little bit of time. But you can help me out. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. Press like, write a comment, and share my content. Tell your friends about it. And maybe my channel can grow a little bit so I can work more on it and create more content. And we all want more of this, don't we? More forest, more AXES, more firewood chopping, not to mention my hewing project that I will get back to pretty soon, I hope. I'm really looking forward to continuing on that. So yeah, please do what you can to help me out. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy watching this little video, and I hope you will be back for my next one. And until then, take care. See you.